Hey guys, Ultimate Kill here, and welcome back to another video. Now today we'll be going over the part 2 to my DCEU video I made about 2 months ago, and we're going to be continuing that with part 2. Just before we start, I'm just gonna go over what I went over in that video, and that's the 3 movies that I think would start off the Phase 1, being Nightwing, Batman, and Superman. Well, specifically Batman, Nightwing, then Superman. I believe those would be the best 3 movies to start with. And today we're going to be talking about the next 3 movies of Phase 1. So the 4th movie on my list is going to be Wonder Woman. Now, I believe Wonder Woman would make an excellent 4th movie because of what the 6th movie is going to be about, but I'll get to that later. Wonder Woman should be the I liked it, the actual movie. I think it was pretty good. You know, wasn't the best. I thought the ending was where DC lacks is good endings, and I did not like the main villain. Now, there's a couple things I would change. Well, what I wouldn't change is the beginning. I loved the beginning of the movie. I loved how Wonder Woman was fighting in World War II. I love how she was fighting all the German soldiers, and I liked the even though I'm kind of against these type of things in movies, but I liked the guy that she was in love with. He was pretty cool. He didn't overstay his welcome, and it was nice. It gave her a lot of reason to care. So what would I change? Well, first, I would definitely change this ending. This ending was abysmal, and the main villain was stupid. The ending where Ares finally appears, that because the old dude was, actually Ares in disguise. I believe that Ares should definitely, instead of him, make it feel like World War II by putting in Hitler instead. Make Hitler the main villains in a sense. But then, when she finally meets Hitler, he reveals himself to actually be Ares. And Ares' design, I thought, was stupid too. I felt like Ares was way too old. He looked like a very old man, but in reality, he's Wonder Woman's brother. I think that should have been more of an emphasis, but it wasn't, because she doesn't know that she's Zeus's daughter yet. And if they're going by that story, I would if I was them. But he should have definitely told Wonder Woman the truth, that she's actually the daughter of Zeus, and that they're related. Now, I would make Ares look a lot more threatening as well, because his armor was made from metal and stuff from I think the buildings or the airplanes that he was doing something with. I don't know, but give him some better looking armor. It was flaming, but it didn't look right. It felt like it was garbage on fire. Fix that. Give him real armor and make him a lot younger. And he definitely should not die in the end. Instead, he's like, gods cannot die in a mortal land. They have to die in the land of gods. So instead, when she tries to kill him, he sinks back into the ground and goes back to where he came from. But the body is dead. Hitler's body is dead. She killed Hitler. I think that would have been a more fantastic ending, and instead of her going into hiding, have her be the one to protect the humans during the time that Superman isn't here, which is 100 years into the past. So during those 100 years or so, she's the one protecting the humans and protecting Earth from any incoming invaders, and she's going to mention this to Superman eventually. But not now. That's just how I would do the Wonder Woman movie. But let's move on to number 5. Alright guys, Number 5 on my Phase 1 list is going to be Starfire. Now, this story was a bit difficult for me to think of. I actually had to redo her entire origin in order for me to come up with a decent enough story. So bear with me if there's plot holes, it's just my little short story of this, okay? Let's begin. So, Starfire is turning 18 on her home planet of Tamaran, along with her little sister Blackfyre. Now I don't know if they're actually if that's her little sister in actual comics, I don't know, but in my story it's her little sister. So Starfire is becoming queen because she's the oldest. Now before that, it's gonna have a little flashback of Starfire and Blackfyre as kids playing around. Starfire was always the nice one, but Blackfyre was always more of the tomboy, doing boyish stuff. So eventually she was told when she was young that she was going to be the new queen of Tamaran one day, and Blackfyre was not, and Blackfyre got really mad and overheard it and got jealous. And over time she began to hate Starfire because she was treated special while Blackfyre was not. Starfire actually was treated a lot differently with her parents as well. Her mother actually preferred Starfire while her father preferred Blackfyre. Her mother was the queen and her father was the king, of course, but it was dominated by mainly females being the actual rulers, and her father was the king, but he led the army. Now, as Blackfyre got older, Blackfyre's dad became aware of the fact that she didn't like her sister, and they both plotted against her through the years, and eventually over time began to corrupt the army and the government to all turn on Starfire on the crowning day of her becoming queen. So fast forward to the day of her becoming queen. Starfire is walking down the throne, but is interrupted by her sister, and eventually that leads to the mutiny. The battle between Starfire and Blackfyre ends up happening, and Blackfyre ultimately gets the upper hand due to the fact that she's been training with her father more than Starfire has, while Starfire has just been working on being nice to the people. Starfire also, before the battle, Blackfyre mentions the fact that their star is dying. Now, I'm not 100% sure on how the Starfire Blackfyre powers work, but I know they get their energy from a literal star. But in my version of this, they get their power by how old the nearest star is. They are actually living by a dying star right now, which powers their entire planet, and their star is dying. And if the star dies, then they lose their powers and they lose their city, so they have to find a new one. And the closest star is that of planet Earth, which is what they're setting out to take over. Now, Starfire objects to this, of course, and that's when the battle happens, and the army ultimately overthrows Starfire, and she gets sent to prison. Her mother isn't going to be sent to prison. Her mother is going to be held captive by the king. Don't know what his name's going to be, but the king, her father, and yeah, she's pretty much going to be a slave to him. So Starfire gets sent to prison along with her friends. She's going to have at least 5 or 6 friends that help her throughout the story and plan their escape. Meanwhile, Blackfyre is plotting with the army and the father to take over planet Earth. Now, I'm not going to go into huge detail because this video is going to go on for way too long to talk about a 2-hour-long movie. So we're going to go to the part where Blackfyre does not want to share the throne with her father. And she ends up killing him. And she's like, no, I will not share the throne with anybody. I am going to be the queen, and nobody will rule by my side. you must die. So she kills her father, but she leaves her mother, mainly because she hates her for treating her so differently than Starfire. Now let's go back to Starfire, her in the prison. Now I know in the comics she's actually a slave, she's sold and everything. We're not gonna do all that. She's a prisoner, and she realizes that her powers are getting weaker because the sun is dying, and it's gonna die at any minute. Well, not any minute, any day, whatever, any year. So her and her friends decide to escape, and they blast through the prison, escape, and free all the prisoners, all the slaves that Blackfyre has captured. And they all decide to try to retake Tamaran. Now that happens, and there's a big old battle in the jail, and Starfire ultimately escapes. So she is running through the burning Tamaran, and she sees a large glowing light in the castle, and she runs to the castle and all of that, and she fights through some of the guards and everything, because Starfire, she knows how to fight, and she also has the powers, the star bolts and everything. They're not as powerful as what they would be on Earth, because the sun is a lot stronger and it's a lot younger. So she's fighting and makes her way to the castle and sees Blackfyre with her mother on her knees about to be killed. And then Blackfyre actually she kills her mother, but before that she's like, this is what you've caused because you wanted to be selfish, you never thought about me, you never did anything for me, it's always about you, you're always the special one, it's nothing, and pretty much go screw yourself. So they're trying to talk, Starfire trying to talk to her like, it doesn't gotta be like this, let's work together, let's do this. And then Blackfire's like, no, I'm actually having fun. Now you get to watch how I felt when blah blah blah. She'll say some stuff, and then she'll just kill her mother. So she's dead now. Then Starfire gets angry, but before she can do something, Blackfyre lets out a humongous starbolt, like she just unleashes like a bunch of energy and destroys the castle. And she actually flies off into space after that, and is like, let's settle this somewhere else. So Starfire's on the ground, she's really hurt badly, but then her friends come by, if any of them are still alive at this point, and says, we believe in you, Starfire, go after her, we're gonna go get a spacecraft and try to save this, and try to come get you. So Starfire is like, okay, and goes after Blackfyre, and they're in space now, and this is where the last battle is going to take place, and they're going to have a huge battle. They can breathe in space like Superman can. So they're clashing, boom 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 boom, starbolt, pew pew pew, and Blackfyre is about to win again. But the thing is, Starfire is different. Her power comes from the star. Like, she can harness the energy of a star and take it for herself. So here's what she does. She flies to the star, and Blackfyre chases after her. And she knocks Blackfyre away real quick, and then she goes inside the star. And then that causes a supernova. Starfire takes all the energy from the star and lets it all out and does a supernova, blowing up the star and blowing up Blackfyre. But that also is going to blow up the planet, and the supernova is spreading through all of their solar system, and it's about to hit Tamaran. So her friends are on the ship about to rescue her and everything, and it's only them. But Starfire is up there floating in space and everything, and she looks like she's about to die and everything because the star is gone. But Blackfyre is not dead. She still is alive, and she still has a little bit of her power left, and she's about to kill her friends in the spacecraft. So instead, her friends risk their lives to save Blackfyre, to get out the ship and put Starfire in there and try to hold her off, and they set up coordinates for planet Earth. So she's like, no, don't do this, and then she flies to planet Earth while her friends are trying to stop Blackfyre. Ultimately she kills them, and then she says, you won't escape me, Starfire. I will find you, and I will come and destroy that planet, and I will take it for myself. So there she's going, and then it ends with her crash landing on Earth. They have like warp drive, whatever, and it slams them on Earth in the middle of like a forest outside of Bloodhaven. And the movie ends with her getting out the pod and looking around and seeing like forest area right outside of Bloodhaven, like I said, and she sees the city in the background. And it ends with her looking up at the sky and noticing the sunset, and she thinks to herself like, that's weird, our sun at Tamaran was red, but this one is yellow and much dimmer, but it feels a lot hotter. So she's like, my power, I could feel the sun's energy resonating through me, and her eyes start to glow. And then she thinks to herself like, this is going to be my new home, and slowly walks into Bloodhaven. And that conclude the Starfire movie. That would definitely be Starfire, with after credit scene of her and Dick Grayson talking about yeah, that's what happened when before I got to planet Earth. And then Dick was like, wow, you never told me that story like before. And then she's like, yeah, well, stuff happens. And that's how I ended up meeting you, like like a year or two after that, after her wandering the streets trying to learn, get accustomed to a new home, but she couldn't, so she just became homeless until she met Dick. And then she's like, well, there are other people like us too, And she's like, what? Really? Who? And then she's like, come, I'll show you. And then it ends like that. And that is the 5th movie of Phase 1. Now, let's talk about the last movie. Okay, so we are finally at the 6th and final movie of Phase 1. That movie is going to be none other than Batman vs. Superman. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of flag for this, but hear me out. It's going to be different from the actual movie. Okay? So, we just got through a Starfire, so we're going to take it back to planet Earth and Metropolis. So, we're going to go back to the Superman movie, and it's going to do the thing like it did before and show what Bruce was doing at the time of all of that crazy stuff with Zod, right? If you don't know what happened, check out my previous Phase 1 video where I explained how that went down. So that happens, and Bruce is on the ground and holding the little girl and everything and watching his Wayne Tower get destroyed in Metropolis. So we're going to go up a year from now, and he is going to be getting ready for a meeting with Lex Luthor in Metropolis and talking about repercussions against Superman. In the meantime, this it can't be Ben Affleck. It can't. I don't see this guy as Batman, the way Batman is supposed to be Batman. I can't. So let's make this a new Batman. So we're gonna skip all the bull, and go straight to Metropolis. So Bruce makes it to Metropolis and is talking to Lex Luthor at his office building, and then he's talking about there's so much destruction, people lost their lives, we need to do something about this. And he's like, yes we do. Now you've been funding me for for over a year now, and we have been working on a remedy for this. There used to be, and he explains that once upon a time ago there was a planet named Krypton not too far away from our solar system that got destroyed, and one day there were shards, there was a meteor that formed from Krypton, a little meteor, not the actual planet, but a meteor from the planet hit the Earth at one point in time, and Lex Luthor dug it up out of the ocean, and is a radioactive rock from Krypton that he modified and made it radioactive to only Superman and not to humans. So he doesn't tell him straight off the bat that. He just says, we're working on an experiment, we want to give it to you when it's ready, we think you'd have more of a benefit from this than us. So he's like, how about you meet me at this party at a week from now, and we'll see what we can do, and we'll work together. Alright, sure. He gets out the office, and while he's walking down the street, who's low-key spying on him? Diana. Diana is walking down the street, and she glances at him, and her theme song come up a little bit, and she's like, keep an eye on him. So he goes back to the Batcave and talks to Alfred about what's gonna happen, and he's like, are you sure you want to do this? He did save people, but Bruce was like, at the same time, he cost millions of lives, not millions, but hundreds of lives. So he's like, yes, I'm ready. And then the Batcave, he's working out and doing a whole bunch of other stuff, and then he's looks at an old Robin suit, like how that scene was. He looks at the old Robin suit and says, yes, I'm ready for this, because I think that the fact that Ben Affleck, if I can remember this right, he stopped being Batman, but after the events of Superman, he decided to go back to being Batman, and I think that's a good touch, and that'll happen in my version of it. So he's training, getting back into shape and all this other stuff, and eventually time passes to the party. He gets to the party, and Lex isn't there at first. At first, he is just walking around, and he runs into Diana. And Diana's talking, oh hey, blah, 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 nice to see you here, I'm Bruce, I'm Diana, nice, we should do business sometime. Bruce is like, yeah, I'll do business with you anytime. And then he does the whole Bruce. Then he notices Clark taking a picture of them, and then he's like, I'm Clark, and then he's like, I'm Bruce, nice to meet you. And then they shake hands, but Bruce notices that his grip is very different, like that it's different, because he knows, because he's Batman. So he's like, oh. So they all talk while Bruce is waiting for Lex Luthor, and the thing is, they're getting along well. They're cracking jokes, having a couple drinks and everything, and then here comes Lex. So he calls over Bruce, and they all split apart separate ways. So Lex says, I got something for you, and he brings out a briefcase, and he says, don't open it until you leave. And then he says, what is it? And he says, It's the thing you'll need for a certain experiment. I'm sure you'll know what to do with it. And then they talk, and then he wonders what's inside the briefcase. But then all of a sudden, Clark, he starts coughing a little bit, like something in the air. So, he leaves, and but he actually hears something going off in the back, and like somewhere, in the distance. And he says, "I'll be back later." And he was talking to Diana, and Diana's like, "Okay, sure." And then Bruce gets a call from Alfred talking about a robbery for chemicals that are being transported to Gotham. And he says, "Gotham, I'll take care of it." And then he leaves the party too. So he goes off, turns into the Batman shit, and stops the robbery of the chemicals. I'm not gonna say what the chemicals are. I got a plan for that. The chemicals, and he doesn't kill people like in Batman vs Superman. He doesn't kill people. He stops it. He does the Batman thing. So he's interrogating somebody, and all of a sudden he sees a guy swoop over and take him, and in an instant. And then he's like, there he is. So Superman is on a rooftop, and he's trying to interrogate the guy, and then he's like hanging him by like his foot off of a ledge and telling him where to get the chemicals. But then here comes Batman. So Batman's like, I had this under control. And he was like, really? It looks like you didn't. And then Batman's like, you should I'm giving you one chance to stay away from my work, and I'm giving you one more chance to stop doing all of this and terrorizing the people. And he's like, terrorizing? I'm doing this to help the people, to save them. And he was like, no, you don't know the meaning of the word saving. You don't know the meaning of justice. You're nothing but a fake. You're nothing but a guy in a costume. And he's like, what do you think you are? And then Batman walks up to him, then tries to punch him. And then I don't want to say he breaks his hand, but he's like, "Rah, rah!" And he's definitely hurt. And he's like, wow, you're nothing but a human. And then he grabs Batman by the collar or by the shirt, whatever it is, by the suit, and then says, I don't want to see you here ever again. If I do, I'll make sure you never be the Batman again. He throws him off the building, and Batman falls. He uses his grappling hook, but he slams onto a car, and he's like, and then he sees Superman flying away with the duty interrogated and flies off. Then that's when Batman's like, he calls Alfred, and he's like, it's time. And then it fast forwards to Lex Luthor looking off into the distance, and he's like, just what I wanted, or whatever, something like that. And that's pretty much his plan for those two to fight and one of them to kill each other. But ultimately, he wants Batman to kill Superman. Actually, we're gonna go with that. So he wants Batman to win, and he gets back to the Batcave, and he wraps up his hand, and he opens the briefcase, and he knows this is a green, really bright, glowing rock, and it's called Kryptonite. It's labeled. So he's like, Kryptonite, what is this? He analyzes it, and he sees that it breaks down the Kryptonians' biometric structure, cell, blah 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 blah, all that science stuff. So he's like, I can use this, but I'm going to need to do more than just have this rock. So he breaks down the rock and builds a new suit. And this suit is going to be I'm gonna name it the Super Destroyer Mark 1. And he is making this suit and all this other stuff. He melts down the kryptonite and infuses it inside the suit. And not only that, but he made 3 shards of kryptonite. No, not 3 shards. He made the 3 kryptonite grenades that he had and 1 kryptonite shard that he's gonna use to finish off Superman. And this suit cannot look like the shitty ass suit that he had in Batman vs Superman. It has to be like the Injustice level suit. Maybe not exactly like Injustice. I'm gonna save that for another day. But he makes another suit. Not another suit, but he makes another suit, and it's mainly just for Superman, just for fighting Superman. And he puts it on, and he goes off to Metropolis, and he shines. He goes off to the highest point, not the highest point, but a building, and he makes a bat signal there, and shines it in Metropolis. Now, Lex Luthor is gonna be on a building, and he is standing there like, can't wait to see this, like, gladiator match, like you said before. But Wonder Woman is also there, looking off into the distance, like, you caused this. And then he's like, yeah, I want to see who deserves to be the world's true hero. And then Lex Luthor's like, like the way you used to be, because she was the protector for a very, very long time. So she's like, yeah. And then he's like, you shouldn't interfere with this. This is actually something they need to work out themselves as well. So she stares off at the bat signal where Batman is, and then lightning starts to strike, and then after one flash, Superman is there when the flash is over. And then that's when they look down at each other. It's like, what is this? Batman's like, so you finally come. And he's like, yeah, I told you, this is my city. And then he's like, yeah, but I told you, there's only room for one hero around here, or something. That shit corny, but you know what I'm trying to say. So they're like, So Superman's like, do you really want to do this? This isn't how it has to go. And then he's like, and then they both walk up to each other, and Batman's like, yes, it is. And he socks Superman in the face, and like you hear a ringing sound, and Superman's like, what? That hurt. How is this hurting you? And then Batman tries to go in for another punch, but Superman blocks it, and then that begins the fucking fight. They start throwing punches, and blah blah blah, boom boom boom, and then Superman isn't no bitch in this one, because in the regular movie he was a fucking pushover. He got his ass whooped. That doesn't happen that easily here. Batman is struggling to beat Superman. Like, I mean struggling. He has to pull out everything until he finally pops out one of the grenades, smoke grenades with kryptonite, and pops him with it. And then that's when Batman starts to gain the upper advantage, blowing his shit out. Boom, boom, sock, punching him through walls and all this other stuff. And he's like, sir, sure you have these powers, but I'm a man. I made this just for people like you that try to test that. So he's fighting and then he then eventually he says, you are the hope of nobody. And before he punches him again, Superman regains his powers again. The kryptonite wears off, blocks it, and throws Batman through the wall, and all that other good stuff. So eventually they fighting, and Batman uses another one and blows his shit out some more. And then he's like, I've had enough of this, and pulls out the kryptonite shard. And he's like, you killed people you killed that Zod guy. Many innocent people died in that battle. Many people lost their lives and their children because of you. Because you were reckless and didn't save them. You felt like it was necessary to stop the villain before thinking about who is caught in the crossfire or whatever like that. And then he has the kryptonite shard in his hand, and he says, "Say it. You will not kill anybody, or we do not kill," or something like that. And then Superman looks at him, and he doesn't say that dumbass Martha shit, Martha. No, he's like, "We don't kill." And then Superman is like, "I'm sorry. I won't kill." And then he says, "Say it again." Batman's like, "Say it again." And then Superman yells, "We won't kill. We will not kill." And then, all this other stuff. So Batman drops the shard and crushes it. He was like, "Good, because I won't kill either." And then that is the part where we're going to start changing some shit up. So normally in the regular Batman vs Superman, this is the part where Doomsday comes in. Nuh-uh, not here. Ain't no Doomsday in this movie. Lex Luthor is going to be the one to show up. Lex Luthor is going to... Okay, so you guys know how Lex Luthor was standing there with Wonder Woman, right? So he decided to go back. During the fight, there was a scene where he goes back to his lab real quick, and he's like, because he sees how the fight is. So now that Batman dropped the shard and broke it, Lex Luthor sees, and he leaves. He leaves feeling that he was on top of Wonder Woman, and he goes down to the fight. But he says to Batman and Superman, "Isn't this just great? You two have become quite the friends after almost killing each other." And then he's like, they're both like, "Lex, what are you doing here?" Well, Lex is like, "Well, seeing how you can't handle this, Batman, I guess I have to do it for you." And then then the helicopter comes in and drops a humongous suit of armor that is also infused with kryptonite. And Lex puts it on. Well, he jumps inside of it and puts it on and all that other stuff. And he's like, "See, Bruce, Batman, no, he knows that Bruce is Batman. He's like, "See, Bruce, I was hoping you would finish the job, and we could have made such a good team, but it looks like you aren't for the human people, because Lex Luthor doesn't like aliens." So he punches Batman really hard, and he starts stomping the shit out of him and punches the shit out of Superman, because Superman is still weakened. And they're like, and he's like, "Stay down, Bruce. I don't want to kill you. I want to kill her." So he has a kryptonite staff type of thing, and he's like, "Well, I guess we won't have to worry about innocents getting hurt anymore. Now do we?" And he's about to stab him. He's about to stab Superman right in the chest. But right then and there, cue Wonder Woman's theme song, because she comes in and breaks the staff in half with her sword. And then he's like, what? And then he's like, you dare lay a head on me? And then he starts fighting Wonder Woman. And then Wonder Woman's like, I fought worse. I fought gods. And then they start fighting, and then it's a pretty decent fight. It's no ordinary suit of armor either. This is the best suit of armor in the world. So they start fighting. Batman's weak, but he's like, we can't let her show us up. And then Superman's like, Yeah, I guess not. So they start off fighting Lex Luthor, and they get the upper hand. And then one last hit, the three of them punch him and destroys. And Superman's heat vision destroys the armor. And Lex Luthor's on the ground. And they all win. All three of them defeated Lex Luthor. Now, they ends, the movie's starting to wrap up. It ends with the police coming, and they're about a couple hours later, the police is like the people are wondering what made you guys fight in the first place, and then there are like differences, but I think that worked out now. They're like, oh, okay. So, and then the reporter is like, so the Vicky Vale is going to be at the end too. She's the reporter, and she's going to be like, there's been reports of many people like you here nowadays. What do you guys say to people like that? And then Superman's like, well, I think it's safe to say you can come out of hiding, but if we have to find you, we will. And then Batman's like, anybody with super talents that's willing to help the greater good will always be accepted on this planet, no matter what. And then the movie ends, and then everybody's clapping, blah blah blah, yeah. And then the movie ends with Bruce going to meet up with Diana, but he sees Clark outside of the building where she's at. Then he's like, oh, you're here too, Clark? And then like, yeah, Bruce, I'm here too. And they both have like bandages on their face. And then Clark is like, looks good on you. and then Bruce is like, I wonder where I got him. And then they both know that Batman and Superman, they know each other's identity. So they go into Diana's office, and she's like on a chair with it turned back. And then she's like, they're like, so what did you want to see us for? No, change my mind on that. They set up the meeting with Diana, and she's in the chair, and she turns around and is like, so what do you two need help with this time? And then it ends there. Now, of course, this is going to have a scene after the credits. Now, this scene is going to be of Lex walking through prison, and there's going to be like some guards behind him walking him to his cell. And as he's walking, there are several inmates that he notices. He notices Bane in a cell, Scarecrow in a cell. He notices Zaz is in a jail. He notices Captain Cold in a cell. And he actually talks to him and is like, I'm sorry about your sister. And then he's like, yeah, I know. Tough. He says it's a tough time getting revenge when the person you're fighting is a speedster. And then he's like, a speedster? Huh. I can use one of those. So he walks by and then goes into his cell. And then he's like, I hope you enjoy your cellmate. So he's like, cellmate? And then you hear laughing in the background. That laughing is from a dude in the shadow. And he's like, I've been waiting to see someone like you, Lex. And then he's like, Lex is like, so out of all people they pair me with, they give me you. And then he comes out the shadow, and it's none other than the Joker. Finally, after so many movies, we finally get to see the Joker. And then Lex is like, when he sees him, he's like, whoa, what are you in for? And then the Joker is like, oh, I killed the little bird. And then Lex is like, huh, I can use someone like you on my new team. And then the movie ends there. That is the end of Phase 1. I hope you guys have enjoyed part 2 of my Phase 1 video. I do not know if I'm going to do a Phase 2 yet. Phase 2. Maybe. I have to think about it. I know I have some ideas written down already, but I'm not sure. So we'll get to that when we get to that. I just hope you guys enjoyed this one. And if you haven't watched the previous part 1, because there are some stuff that this all ties into each other. So please like, favorite, and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think that should be Phase 1. Let me know in the comments. Write down your list of Phase 1 and Phase 2, Phase 3, whatever. Let me know. I'm interested. Also, follow me on Twitch. I have just started getting into streaming. It's something. Give it some time. We'll get up there. We'll definitely get up there. Another bit of news. I'm going to be gone for a couple of days. I'm going to Miami. So if you see this, definitely watch it to the end. And yeah, come holler at me. You know, leave a comment, message me on Twitter. Let's link up for sure. And yeah, that seems to be about it. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.